Let's hear now from Clive Tilsley.
Well, there are 4 changes to the Great Britain lineup that was word perfect in Perpignan last month. 3 of them forced by injuries in the pack. Andy Dannett, Richie Ayres and Carl Fairbank are the new names there. Ayres starts a test match for the first time. Paul Loughlin of St Helens is recalled to the centres, ending a 12-month injury nightmare for him. A groin injury suffered in France last March has led to 2 operations, but now he says he feels fitter and faster than ever, and his return carries the bonus of a specialist goal-kicking alternative to Paul Eastwood, who kicked the job initially today. 7 of this French team shared in the glory of last year's shock win, but that's a distant memory now. That thumping defeat in Perpignan has prompted 5 changes. The key men are David Freys, the rangy centre, and halfbacks Jacques Moliner and Patrick Antin. Thierry Boutignol is captain in the absence of last year's man of the match, Gilles Dumas. International rules allow for 4 substitutes, but no player can return once he's been replaced. The neutral referee, flown over from Australia for his 3rd visit to these shores, is Greg McCallum. He's a deputy headmaster, so he knows all about discipline. It's a dull and chill and damp afternoon in West Yorkshire, but the pitch is in absolutely superb condition. The adjoining cricket surface is covered by 6 to 9 inches of snow. West Yorkshire has had an awful lot of snow in the last 10 days or so, but the undersoil heating system just on the other side of the North Stand here at Headingley has given us a green oasis for the pride of Britain and France to entertain us this afternoon. Great Britain will start the match. They hold an advantage on the all-time scoreboard, but perhaps more crucially, they've won 9 of their last 10 international matches against France. But that one exception lingers long in Headingley memories. It will be Gary Schofield, who was actually left at the team hotel at lunchtime today when they made their way down to Headingley. They had to get a lift in a car here. Gary Schofield to get us underway. And absolutely crucial for the French to show far more discipline in the opening quarter than they were able to 3 weeks ago. Can lightning possibly strike twice in the same place? Well, 4 straight defeats, 4 very heavy defeats at the hands of Australia and Britain have followed that historic French win here. But it's worth remembering they'd lost 7 in a row when they arrived here last April. Antin to kick long. Steve Hampson, the Wigan fullback, waits. Every French success is something of a surprise, but they do spring them from time to time, as the Great Britain under-21 team will tell you. Last night at Wigan, the French beat them by 16 points to 6, just 3 weeks after a 48-2 defeat in France. That's the kind of turnaround that is possible. Paul Eastwood finding touch. And the giant figure of Andy Dannett, all 16.5 stone of him, driving Great Britain forward. Andy Platt, who had x-rays for the possibility of a broken left hand during the week. You'll see that strapped up. But his courage was always going to demand that he was a part of the Great Britain side today. Here's Schofield. Christophe Orloir coming across to try and cover Martin Offiah. Went behind the dead ball line before Offiah could ground it. And another reminder of the searing pace that has already brought him 14 tries for Great Britain in just 19 appearances. Prolific. Thierry Boutignol, the French captain. Offiah catching out the fullback, who isn't the paciest player in the French side, but his kick was just a shade too long. Ooh, or was it? It's a difficult one for the referee to call from distance, but he gave the French the benefit of the doubt. Molyneux. This is Chamorin. Tackles by the 2 second-row forwards, Richie Ayres and Carl Fairbank. Kabastani playing only his second game of the season after a serious ankle injury. A bit of a gamble in the French pack. Daniel Verde. Great Britain's defence was so good in Perpignan in the first test. Onta. Edwards just got a hand on it. Valero has recovered the ball, but it's gone forward. Maybe the most amazing statistic to come out of Perpignan last month was that the French actually had possession of the ball for longer than Britain in the first half, and yet they were 25 points down in no time. They trailed 31-10 at the interval, and the match was lost. Edwards leaving it to Hanley. They really did show a suicidal disregard for tactical common sense in that game. 6 times in that first half they turned over possession inside their own 25. It was an invitation for Great Britain to win the game.
What you've just pointed out, Clive, is that the unforced errors were the thing that really made France pay in the first test. The feeble tackles that the English could just stroll through and drop ball when there was no pressure on them, and that's the thing that they're going to have to reassess today if they're going to be any threat at all.
Schofield, Stormy 2 did well just to halt his progress.
Interesting to note also, Clive, that they've put one of their strongest defenders. They've put Jacques Molinaire at 5'8" to try and dull the sharp attacking skills of Gary Schofield.
Here is Molinaire.
We have down there that once the man is held in the tackle, you're not allowed to steal the ball off him, whereas over here, the player, if he's held up for 7 or 8 seconds, they're still allowed to play for the ball, and that's one thing that the English players will have to get used to.
Carl Fairbank it was who yanked it out. Referee will usually shout held. From that point onwards, the ball is technically dead. Molinaire making good ground, and France have a good position. Boutignon. Ball control, absolutely imperative here now for France if they're to make the most of this opportunity. Onta. Molinaire. Great Britain's defence sound on the first 3 tackles. Valero, Montgaillard, Stormy 2, Verbe. Valero, Onta. Not sure that Cyril Pons will thank him for that pass. 5 tackles. Onta to kick through. Good chase by David Freys. Still a chance, and Hampson, almost in the style of a goalkeeper, just managed to keep it out.
Well, that was a perfect opportunity for Freys to try and pick the ball up, and he would have been already over the line, but he tried to get the foot to it, and it went straight to Steve Hampson. That was a chance that was definitely wasted.
They've had a couple already, the French, but Great Britain were rather undone by Onta's little kick. Look at the goalkeeping efforts here of Steve Hampson. Gary Schofield. Taken by Orwa. Schofield up there playing everybody on side. Cyril Pons. He threatened not to come over this time, Pons, the left winger. He runs a couple of menswear shops back home, and he was struggling to find somebody to look after the shop, quite literally. Great Britain's side sprinkled now with so many players who play their football full-time. It's very much a part-time occupation still in France. The ball's been fairly stolen out of the tackle that time by Daniel Verde, one-on-one with Hampson. Here's Onta, and again, the French are having plenty of possession.
The French are showing good variation with their ruck plays and in their defence as well. They're not just giving it to one man taking up against 4 or 5 defenders. They're putting little runarounds on, little decoy plays. And this is going to make things much, much easier to get over the advantage line.
Onta, Molinaire, Onta. Oh, stolen by Gary Schofield, time and time again. The poacher snatches points for you. And that is a typical Gary Schofield try. He's the best in the business at that. He's a thief. 20 minutes gone. And Gary Schofield has stolen Great Britain a 6-point lead.
Here we have the French just trying to put on a simple run-around play, but Gary Schofield, sensing what was on, timed it to perfection. He just come through, and against the run of play, Great Britain have got an easy gift, 6 points.
Well, he earned his reputation in the centre for stealing try after try in that manner. That's his 23rd for Great Britain. He's 3rd on the all-times list, and he's only 1 behind Billy Boston now, who's in 2nd place. 23 tries, and this is 31st cap today for Gary Schofield. It's made them happy. Mal Reilly on the left, and his assistant Phil Larder on the right. So Paul Eastwood with a chance to improve. Simplest of kicks, but meticulous in his preparation. And meticulous results for Paul Eastwood. And for Great Britain, who have been forced back by the French rather more than we anticipated, but the scoreline is no surprise. Great Britain 8, France 0. Gary Schofield, Great Britain's player of 1990, he won the Ernest Ward Memorial Trophy. Played in all 12 tests in the last year, and he's done that time and time again. French kickoffs, interesting, they're doing their best to recover possession, and it's worked for them there. Almost rugby union style kickoffs. Onta, Moliner, Fraisse, Chamara, all wide in the line. Real test of French character now, Peter.
They've got to do something. They've got to try and hit back now. They've done a lot of good work in the first 20 minutes, but it'll be all for nothing if they don't. A good break there again there by Bird, but he's lost the ball. But they have to put some points on the board to make this competitive.
Easy to become disheartened when you feel that things are just going against you.
Well, typical, an intercept against the run of play, and it's put them 8-0 behind, and probably they should have been 6-2 up. So, again, they've got to fight back. They've got to show some spirit and determination and get down to the other end of the park.
Next 5 or 10 minutes really will be crucial. Richie Ayres. We're live from Headingley in Leeds. It's the return test match, and Great Britain in possession and leading France by 8 points to 0. Schofield, the try scorer. Paul Loughlin. Well gathered by Darryl Powell. He's got support either side. Ellery Hanley. Tackled by Onta. 5th tackle of the drive.
They're terribly short out here on the left, the French. If they spin it out, I can't see them stopping England scoring.
Richie Ayres let it go. Carl Fairbank. Paul Loughlin. On the 6th tackle, just hoisting up and under. Ayres was underneath it. Bounced back into the hands of Patrick Onta. Boutignon. Moliner. Good chase there by Andy Platt, putting the kicker under pressure. Steve Hampson's so solid under the high ball. Martin on fire. They'll have a job to run round David Fraisse. Paul Eastwood. Darryl Powell. Become a real fixture in the side now. He's played in 9 of the last 10 internationals. Mal Reilly has broken up his combination with Carl Gibson in order to recall Paul Loughlin. Gibson's just lost a little bit of form with Leeds recently. But it's a good solid centre pairing now. Lee Jackson. Two marking players weren't aligned, and so Great Britain have a penalty.
This is a great chance for Great Britain to put on a set play in the French 25. In the last set of 6, the French started to get a little bit rattled. They didn't have a runner on a couple of occasions. They're starting to fall apart a little bit. Patrick on tap, the little halfback, will have to get behind his players and rev them up.
Paul Lachlan finding touch. Martin O'Fire. It's gained 5 or 6 yards that he'd no right to there with that clever spin. Andy Platt. Dannett. Edwards. Saw a little bit of daylight. There was a hint of a trip there. Edwards certainly seemed to go over a foot, and he's holding his shin painfully. It's been penalised. Great Britain will have a penalty. But no sign of any further action against the guilty French party. Greg McCallum. It's his 9th time in charge of a Great Britain international in recent years. He was very impressed by the discipline and control that the team showed in Perpignan 3 weeks ago. He's a good barometer of opinion of Great Britain rugby because he had the series against New Zealand in '89. A good judge of the game, a good judge of how far we've come forward. And his judgment giving Paul Eastwood a chance of another gimme 2 points. Eastwood rattles out 80 for the season. His 3rd successful kick of the afternoon. Justifying Mulready's decision to stick by him despite the inclusion of Paul Lachlan, and stretching the Great Britain lead to 10 points to 0.
I think the French captain, Butignol, and his other front row partner, Montgaillard, have to show a little more example to their forward pack in going forward with the ball here. Their back line, everyone knows they've got ability to score points, but they need their forwards going over the advantage line and meeting the English if they're going to be a threat.
Darryl Powell. Andy Platt. Schofield. Pushing Orwa back into the corner. Tackled by Richie Ayres. At 28 minutes of the first half, Great Britain leading by 10 points to 0. Solitary interception try by Gary Schofield. 3 simple and successful kicks by Paul Eastwood. Despite some early French promise, Great Britain have weathered their difficult moments and are grinding their opponents down with some very solid defence and an attack which is gathering momentum and rhythm. Alta. Steve Hampson was altogether happy with his own performance in Perpignan. He was actually replaced by St. John Ellis for the last 10 minutes of the game, and he's very aware of the pressure that the likes of the Castleford fullback and David Lyon have worried for the final. Good break by Paul Lachlan. Martin O'Fire. He's got support from Darryl Powell. Just tried to spin it on to Lee Jackson. Ellery Hamley was in front. Looks astonished at the referee, but he was about 2 yards in front, and then the smile breaks over the Great Britain's captain's face to acknowledge that the referee was right.
I think a few of these Great Britain players are just expecting the Frenchmen to fold like a house of cards at the moment, and I think they've shown by their performance so far that they're not prepared to do it. So it's going to take a good concerted team effort from Great Britain to put a decent score on these Frenchmen.
Jacques Jourda bellowing instructions from the French bench. That's a great hit though. Richie Ayres has done some really good work in defence. Valero trying to switch it. Sean Edwards quickly on his opposite number, Patrick Onta. Kabastani. Well, a good tackle. This time led by Dannett with support from Fairbank. Molinaire. Half a break. Knocked down by Schofield, but only into the hands of Fraze. Good support from Wawa. Had an overlap there. He's come inside to Cyril Pons. Ball's gone begging, but play on, says the referee, as Fraze keeps it alive. There's still a chance for Chamorro. And maybe now for the winger, Bouzer. Important tackle by Martin O'Fire. French rode their luck a little bit then. And again, Kabastani unable to hang on, and Martin O'Fire trying to get clear. Touch judge John Ward is in to offer some advice to his Australian boss for the afternoon. But again, the French showing the adventure to try and open Great Britain up, but not quite the technique or the togetherness to really make the most of their opportunity.
Well, there again we saw another example of the attacking flair that the Frenchmen possess in their back line, but on too many occasions the last pass going to ground, and it's these fundamental errors that keep cropping up in their game that are preventing them from scoring points.
Kabastani, the big bearded player, is the man in trouble. This is Chamorro, the centre. That's Bouzer, the winger. And the French are in possession with Sormy too. Got just over 8 minutes of this first half in which to make something of this attack. Onta into Kabastani. Oh, the great tackle this time by Lee Jackson. Onta. Molinaire. Smothered by the white blanket of the British cover. Valero. Onta. Longer ball looking for Fraze. Pons rescuing it. Onta. Slipped very well. Boutignon with an opportunity. He needed somebody at his shoulder. Just needed somebody with a bit of pace and finishing ability. Fifth tackle. Valero. Molinaire. The kick through is for Sormy too. Well caught by Gary Schofield diving backwards. Great athleticism there by the Great Britain standoff half. Well, it's not as if they haven't had their chances.
Well, they've had 2 or 3 definite scoring possibilities so far, and every time it's either fallen down because the last pass has been dropped or they didn't have one more man in support that would have put the ball over the line. Now, this is the thing. They've got to get back on the scoreboard. It's currently 10 points to 0. If they can get a try, I think that they can feel that they're competitive and they're in the game and they'll make a game of it. But at the moment, they're doing silly little things right at the finish when they should be putting it into points.
A little bit of concern over Gary Schofield at the moment. David Fever, the Great Britain physiotherapist, applying the treatment. So the second time in the game that we've shown a Great Britain player showing the sort of athleticism that a Tony Coton or a Bruce Grobbelaar or a Neville Southall would have been proud of. Schofield diving backwards there to scoop up the ball from the little kick through by Molinaire. Good save. It was in the tackle that he was hurt. He fell rather awkwardly. Darryl Powell. Hanley. Edwards. Ayres. Really sees his opportunity today, Richie Ayres. He's playing with a nagging groin injury. He's been one of Great Britain's outstanding forwards in this first half. Great Britain will have to kick here. Shaun Edwards. Who's there trying to make the ground? Andy Dannett was the first man up. Andy Platt made the tackle. Just over 5 minutes of the first half remaining. Great Britain leading by 10 points to 0. Valero. Bouquignol doing well to scoop that up at his ankles. Alta, Molinaire. Again, the pass really was for anybody in the vicinity. Wasn't delivered with any true authority. Alta. Right down the throat of Steve Hampson. Kept alive for Hanley. Mulready was commenting to his assistant Phil Larder after the first game in Perpignan that Hanley had a rather quiet match by his standards. When he looked at his statistics, he was top tackler and top work rate man in the game. That was Hanley's quiet match. Loughlin. Powell. We had Eastwood over outside of him. Cover was sliding across. Powell took the tackle. Dannett. Schofield. Edwards. Saw the gap. Really hit the gap too. 5 tackles. Great Britain loading up this left-hand side. Hanley's kick through towards O'Fire. Might still come for him. Hacking it around in the corner. The ball eventually into touch. Great Britain put in though. Good opportunity. Schofield. Fire coming in off the wing. Daryl Powell. French line holding up, and here's Paul Loughlin with men over. Steve Hampson. Paul Eastwood. Good try. So much width about that Great Britain attack. They had the overlap. They worked it. Hampson's pass was accurate, and Paul Eastwood ran in his 5th Test try. Not quite as spectacular as the 2 that he scored at Wembley in October. Maybe not quite as crucial, but nevertheless well worked.
Here we have Schofield pulling a fire in off his wing. He stands in the tackle and gets a ball out to Daryl Powell, who does very well here, breaks a few tackles, see that the French defences come in, gets the ball out to Loughlin, who really has an open run to the line, but gives it to Hampson, who makes simple work of it and gives it out to Eastwood, and he goes over unmarked.
Real width about the Great Britain passes there.
Well, that was good work, particularly by Daryl Powell. He came infield here, he beat a couple of tackles, he made the ball available, and you can see the French defence have all come in from outside. They haven't marked their man, which leaves a gaping overlap out wide. Loughlin gives the ball to Hampson. Now, Hampson could have been greedy, but he said, no, I'll give it to Eastwood, and it's a simple task to put the ball down.
Difficult one for Paul Eastwood, but on his favoured side is a left-footed kicker. It's a good one. And Paul Eastwood is monopolising the scoring, improving his own try. Great Britain lead by 16 points to 0, and Eastwood has scored 12 of those points. (16-0) then, with a minute and a half of the first half remaining. And Eastwood is only 7 short of the record for a Great Britain player in a Test match against France, shared by the great Lewis Jones and Neil Fox. 21 points. Eastwood has, I beg your pardon, Eastwood has 12 already. He's 9 short. Plenty of time for him. Hampson with one of those spectacular high catches. Andy Platt.
Okay, mate.
Richie Ayres. Final minute of the first half. It hasn't gone smoothly according to plan for Great Britain, but they've met a far more formidable French challenge today, and they've met it well, and they've taken their chances. Schofield's kick just sitting up nicely in the corner. That smothering defence has been the key to the Great Britain effort. There have been some really big hits by the likes of Platt and Ayres. There's Ayres again. And it just kept the French at arm's length, and it's forced them really to chance their arm. Not that they need much of an invitation to do that, but they haven't quite been good enough to make the most of the openings they have created. A little bit high by Hanley on Kabastani. Fifth tackle. On tap. Ball knocked back out of Gary Schofield's hands by Sormy too. But that was the sixth tackle. It'll be a handover. And Great Britain will have possession again. And they're ready to join up again with a pretty satisfied coach as the half-time hooter nears. Steve Hampson. Lee Jackson. Stolen that time by Fraisse. There, they're breaking two challenges. Patrick Onta. Good play. Cyril Pons. Important tackle by Powell. And the hooter brings to an end far more evenly contested first half than we might have anticipated. But 12 points from Paul Eastwood, scorer of one of the two tries with Gary Schofield, have given Great Britain a very good half-time cushion. 16-0 at halfway. We'll be back in just a moment.
Time. I bet it's warmer in those dressing rooms than it is out here. £1 million spent redeveloping that area. No doubt some priceless words from the Great Britain coach Malcolm Reilly, pleased with his comfortable first half lead. Now, Peter Tunks has scored tries at Headingley during his time at Leeds, but I bet not one like the 50-yarder from Gary Schofield, really the key moment of that first half.
Well, that's right. Really, what it was a simple run around. There was the Frenchman anticipated that there would be a lot more time to play the ball, and Tat come around. He tried to pass the ball with a lot of pressure on, and Schofield was aware what was going on. A perfect try poacher. The second try, what we have Daryl Powell here. What he's done, he's come in and he's dragged all the French defence. We see one centre there, we see the other centre there. We see one of the players out of play and Patrick on top. We only have one player on the left-hand side of the field, and Daryl Powell has spotted this, sees the overlap and just gets the ball out on his right-hand side to Paul Lachlan, who's waiting out there. He's left in the wide open spaces here. He sees Hampson on his outside and elects to give it to him. Now Cyril Pons has come in, tries to get across. He fires a wide pass out to Paul Eastwood, who nearly juggles it and just puts it down in the corner for a simple try.
Now, Peter, 16-0 at half-time is comfortable enough, or looks that way, but the French had a number of good chances, good opportunities, which perhaps a little bit more coolness maybe would have seen them taken.
Well, I really don't think 16-0 is a true indication of the play in the first half. We've seen two or three definite scoring opportunities that the French have created for themselves, but really they've been their own worst enemy, and they've put the ball down or suffered from not having one more person in support when a try was begging. And Great Britain, they've scored a great opportunist try from Gary Schofield, which he is so famous for, and then just a simple run-around move from a scrum move, a simple ploy, and they've again scored 6 points. And 16 points to 0, well, it says it all.
So the Great Britain seniors are looking for a test double over France. The under-21s missed out on their chance at Wigan at Central Park last night. Convincing winners in France 3 weeks ago, the French came back to bring something of a surprise.
The French success must be put in the context of Great Britain's record victory 3 weeks ago when Wigan's Bobby Goulding connected with Wigan's David Myers. It looked like being another happy evening in front of the home fans. The French had made 5 changes from the thrashing in Le Mans. Man of the match, Pascal Farget, launching the counter-attack. Second row forward, Frédéric Tiedo launching the scrum half over for an equalising score. Farget turned provider as winger Eric Van Brussel helped himself to a warming Central Park double. British complacency at the heart of the cocktail. Van Brussel finally put the match out of reach with an interception try. A shock result in many ways, but then on British soil, the French are becoming masters of the unexpected.
Yes, the French youngsters showing steel and determination. Can the seniors show something like that in the second half? They certainly had chances. The coach, Jacques Jourda, will be telling them that. They need just a little bit more coolness at the key moment to maybe convert one of those opportunities. Great Britain 16, France 0 at half-time. The second half after the break.
Welcome back to Rugby League Live from Headingley, where at half-time, Great Britain lead France by 16 points to 0. 2 tries, Gary Schofield's interception, and that well-worked score for Paul Eastwood. 4 successful kicks by the Hull winger. And despite that early French promise, despite a fair amount of spirit from the visiting side, they've just been a little bit naive and a little bit headstrong in some of their attacking play. They haven't made the most of their opportunities. And Great Britain's assistant coach, Phil Larder, must be pretty happy at halfway.
Yeah, quite happy, Clive. 1 or 2 areas of concern. We've really emphasised that our defensive line has got to be maintained. They're taking the ball up and offloading very close to our defence. Secondly, we're going to put Arntat under a lot more pressure than we have done in the first half. With the ball, we've got to work on ball control, and we feel that there are gaps out wide, particularly early in the tackle count, and the centres have got the responsibility of shouting for that ball early.
It's a different French side than 3 weeks ago, though, isn't it?
It is, yeah, their defence is good, but it's always difficult playing international football.
Well, Phil Larder will return to his seat alongside Malcolm Reilly as we prepare to see if the French have got anything left in their locker. The French to restart. It's important for the development and status of the international game that France remain a competitive force. They toured Australia for the first time in 9 years last summer, and they won 3 of their district matches down there, as well as beating Britain last season. They ran New Zealand very close in a test match. But just when you think you see some light at the end of their tunnel, the tunnel teams have taken another sharp turn, and this season it's been the old story of personality clashes and defections to rugby union, worst of all, punishing defeats. But they've stood up for themselves today. Great Britain have had to work very hard for that 16-point advantage. Paul Loughlin. Christophe Auroy, the French fullback. Valero. Taken up strongly by Montgaillard. He was in the team that beat Great Britain in Perpignan back in '85. Great Britain defence will be fired up from the dressing room words at half-time. Ayres again, first there to meet the man. Dannett going low down. Here is Arntat. Now let's see what sort of pressure they get on him. He was allowed quite a lot of time there to pick his spot downfield. Steve Hampson, though. Valero's tackle. Lee Jackson. Martin of Fire. Edwards. Carl Fairbank. He'll be happy to be part of a winning effort today. 2 full caps, Carl Fairbank. The defeat by the French here at Headingley, and then defeat in Papua New Guinea. Doesn't do justice to the excellent bread and butter work that he does on behalf of Bradford Northern and for his country when he gets the opportunity. Auroy. Hanley and Powell on hand. Valero. It's a measure of how far Great Britain have come in the last 12 months that the coaching staff aren't altogether happy with a 16-point half-time advantage. Always aspiring to greater things. Arntat. Good pressure that time from Lee Jackson. Martin of Fire. Strong tackle, though, by Pierre Chamorin. Paul Loughlin. The 6'3" and 15 stone, he really is the classic modern centre. I'm sure he would have been part of the Test series against Australia if fitness had allowed it. Steve Hansen. Martin Offiah. He's away from Bouzet. He's away from Orwa. He's away from Ponzesino. Just smuggled into touch. Farr throws the ball away in disgusted frustration. Such a narrow tunnel down that left-hand touchline. But he almost plotted a path between and around the defenders.
That just shows the difference in this French defence. The cover defence, there was 3 or 4 men giving chase to the fastest man in rugby league, Martin Offiah, and finally Pons forced him into touch. But 2 weeks ago, you wouldn't have seen cover defence like that from the French.
Pons had to come all the way from the opposite side of the field to tackle his opposite number. Against the head. Edwards, another chance for Offiah, another chance for Schofield. He's in for his second try. Perfect start to the second half. 4 minutes gone, and Gary Schofield stretches the Great Britain lead. And Martin Offiah, for once in his life, turning provider.
Well, great work by Lee Jackson here. Martin Offiah came flying in from his wing, some feeble attempts to tackle, some Frenchmen going everywhere, but Schofield just pushed 2 tacklers off and forced his way over. Look at the great work of Schofield, always on hand, knows exactly where to run, hits the hole, and there's no stopping him from 5 yards out.
And his 24th Great Britain try means that now only the great Mick Sullivan has scored more tries for his country than Gary Schofield. He's caught up Billy Boston on the all-time list. 24 tries in 31 appearances. That's worth a smile. This was the fellow they left behind at the team hotel.
It's interesting to note that the tries that Great Britain have scored have more or less been from mistakes directly attributed to the French team. There they had the head and ball 5 yards out from their own line, and they were pushed off it by the Great Britain pack. An intercept before gifted Schofield another 6 points. So when you look at the scoreboard, you can just see how much of their own worst enemy the French are.
Number 5 of the afternoon for Paul Eastwood. And Great Britain lead by 22 points to 0. And Gary Schofield's now rattled up 8 tries against France, and he had a couple disallowed in Perpignan.
Yes, the man certainly knows he's a prolific try scorer at club and international level, and that's why he's so sought after in Australia.
I think he is looking for a club for the summer in Australia. And I'm sure there'll be plenty of interested parties down in Sydney. Darryl Powell. Great Britain now really do have a marvellous platform to open out and turn on an exhibition, and also give the coach some scope to blood some of the substitutes. It'd be nice to see Kevin Ellis and St John Ellis involved before the afternoon's out. Roy Powell in the foreground, Kevin Ellis behind him, St John Ellis with the curly hair, and then Keith England on the far left, the big Castleford prop. Britain have kicked downfield. The French are back in possession. Warrington fans watching at home will have noticed young Neil Harmon sitting behind the substitutes. He was called up as a travelling reserve yesterday. A testament to the progress that he's making on the international front. France's progress is a little bit stilted at the moment. Here's Christophe Orwa. Molinaire taking it on the burst, taking Jackson's tackle too. Valero. Jackson there again. Onka. He's playing them on his own a little bit then. He's improved so much during his year with Hull as Patrick Onta. His year with Hull, as he would tell you. Made his international debut 5 years ago today, but it's in the last year that he's emerged as a true international rugby league figure. Hanley feeding Edwards. On fire. Good night. Christophe Aouar is wasting his breath. 2 tries in the opening 8 minutes of the second half. And Great Britain have found top gear. And top gear comes very easily to Martin Offiah. It's 33rd of the season.
What we have here is the French lock forward, Samatou, didn't look when he broke from the scrum, and it was a 3-on-2. All Edwards had to do was give it to Offiah, and no one's going to run this man down.
He's now 8 clear of Greg Austin in the Rugby League try-scoring charts in his bid to make it an historic 4 years in a row in #1 place. And once he has that kind of space, you might just as well line up for the kick-off.
You'll note on his inside 2 of the most prolific try scorers in English Rugby League and indeed World Rugby League, Gary Schofield and Ellery Hanley.
And they're wasting their breath too.
I'm sure they were calling for the ball though.
Past 200 in Perpignan in the first test. He's only been in the game 5 minutes. He's given Paul Eastwood another excellent chance. Out of 6 for Paul Eastwood. Matches his ball in Perpignan. And Great Britain now lead by 28 points to 0. Gone close to doubling their lead in the first 10 minutes of this second half. On comes Jean-Pierre Maniac, the big bustling second row forward, and Didier Cabestany, who has shown great courage in playing today. Only his second match of the season after a lot of ankle trouble is replaced. Paul Eastwood. His personal points tally for the afternoon is now 20. Richard Ayres. Substitute Maniac, who made his debut in Perpignan 3 weeks ago. Plays for the Tres Catalan club, who are currently at the top of the French Championship. Daryl Powell. Ellery Hanley. Ball slipped out of his hands in the tackle. He's reclaimed it though, has he? Now the French have got it. David Press. Chamara. You can hear the tackles when they're that close to the touchline. Here's Maniac. More and more errors creeping into the French effort now. That Great Britain defensive intensity has turned up. Lachlan on fire. Looking to link up again. Hampson, they've got men over on this side, and Fire still involved. Richie Ayres looking to win back some of the ground that's been lost and find Daryl Powell and find Gary Schofield, hat-trick hunting. Shaun Edwards, change of pace, great burst by Edwards. 3 tries in the space of 12 minutes at the start of this second half. Great Britain. Shaun Edwards first of the afternoon. Here's his 10th for his country. And Britain past the 30 mark.
Here we have Great Britain keeping the ball alive. We have Richie Ayres hitting the ball up strong. He sees their short on the left-hand side, gives it to Daryl Powell, who draws the fullback, gives it to Schofield. Now, Schofield could take the halfback on, but he says, no, I won't be greedy. Sees Shaun Edwards looming up on the inside, and Shaun Edwards, a great support player himself, sees there's no one in front to beat, so he runs around and improves the position to make an easy kick for Paul Eastwood.
Made his Great Britain debut on this ground as an 18-year-old 6 years ago. Shaun Edwards still got so much more to give the game, and what he'd really like to give the game is to line up for Britain against Australia. He's never started a test match against Australia. There's a tour looming in the summer of next year that he's sure to be a part of. A magnificent 7 for Paul Eastwood. 34-0 is the score. It's 3 years since anybody kicked 7 goals for Great Britain in a test match. And ironically, the man who's putting some pressure on Eastwood for the goal-kicking spot, Paul Loughlin, was the man who achieved that. The French have replaced Alain Bouzert, their right winger. And the new man is number 17, Eric Ramirez, who played on the wing in Perpignan, although he's nominally a scrum half, really. Andy Dannett waited a long chance for a second chance at international level. 6 years since the 2 caps that he won against France. And such a powerful whole pack. Picking only 1 of 4 or 5 really out of that division. And put them in a Great Britain shirt and they wouldn't look out of place. Steve Hampson. Darryl Powell. The French really opening up now. Loughlin. Ayres has found a big hole. Carl Fairbank, well gathered. Martin O'Fire taking on Ramirez. It's no contest. The second half is less than 15 minutes old, and Great Britain have run in 4 tries. They've now more than doubled their half-time lead. It's 38-0, and Martin O'Fire has his second of the afternoon, and the French are crumbling before our very eyes.
What we have here is just the ability to keep the ball alive and put the pressure on the French defence. The sloppy pass, O'Fire comes back, fires it across. Now just a chain passing movement, but look for when Darryl Powell receives the ball. Poor tackles there on Ellery Hanley. Here we have ball with Darryl. He gives it to Hampson. He'll get it back here in a second. Now he creates some opportunity, goes past a few defenders, feeds it onto Loughlin, and they can see the overlap out wide. Some feeble tackling again. And the ball just gets out to O'Fire, and O'Fire just says, I'll do this all day.
Scoring at a canter, Martin O'Fire. 34 for the season now for him.
One of the reasons that Darryl Powell is included as a regular in the test side is you don't see Darryl very often scoring 2 or 3 tries himself, but it's the work that he does for the men outside him. With men of the calibre of Schofield, Edwards, O'Fire, Eastwood, that you've got men who can score tries from all parts of the field, long-range tries, and Darryl's very good at setting his man up.
Paul Eastwood looking to maintain his 100% record. Difficult chance. He's taken it though. His 8th successful kick of the afternoon. And you have to go back 4 years since anybody kicked 8 goals in a Great Britain test match. That was Joe Lydon against the French here in January 1987. More to come yet. 40 points to 0. Great Britain lead. They've made a substitution during that stoppage. And Richie Ayres, who showed a lot of courage in even turning out today because of a niggling groin injury, has been replaced by the home favourite, Roy Powell. That's Ayres. And this is Lee Jackson setting up another Great Britain attack. Platt, Schofield, Edwards, great stuff, clever kick, Pons just got a hand on it, picked up by Lee Jackson, Steve Hampson, its first try for Great Britain. Hampson in the corner, it's a landslide. Oh, he's earned that. Big moment that for Steve Hampson. His 9th test this afternoon and his first try in the red, white and blue of Great Britain. As brave as they come.
Here we have Schofield seeing that they're short on the short side, comes back there, draws the defence and just pops the ball up to Sean Edwards. He beats some very ordinary defence there. The French defence in total disarray. Cyril Pons very unlucky. They've got a finger to the ball. No one was willing to drop on it. He just throws the ball out to Steve Hampson, who just has to beat the tackle of Thierry Valeray to get over the line for his first try. Here from another angle, we just see that the French have got no idea with defence. They don't realise that you have to mark up man for man. Some men come up quick, some men come up slow. There's no communication, and that is the biggest problem here. We have Sean Edwards who tries to chip over and regather. Still, the French cannot regather their defence. And the pass comes out here finally to Steve Hampson with an overlap, a man outside him that he doesn't even need to use.
Hampson, the happy scorer. Paul Eastwood. Another test of his 100% record. Well, he was entitled to miss one eventually. He kicked 8 out of 8 before that. But Steve Hampson, man of the match on Rugby League Live a couple of weeks ago against Hull Kingston Rovers. Enjoying his football, and so are they today. Great Britain leading now by 44 points to 0.
Still a long way to go, Clive, and this is getting to the embarrassing part. And if French don't pull their defence together here, this could end up 60 or 70 points.
We're not yet midway through the second half, I should say. Here's Roy Powell of Leeds. Lee Jackson. Andy Platt. Andy Dannett. Hampson's kick. Hanley might have been a shade in front then. Gathered though by Powell. Schofield. Paul Loughlin, brilliantly gathered, stretching his legs and committing the fullback Orwa. Andy Platt, midway through the second half, 44 points to 0, the Great Britain lead. Rugby League, Test Rugby League, live from Headingley in Leeds. Hampson. Powell. Ellery Hanley. Flattened after he kicked it. And the French have been penalised for that. And they're losing a little bit of their discipline as well as a little bit of their heart now. Penalty where the ball landed. And here comes the late tackle. It's so late it was almost tomorrow. Hampson. Loughlin. So easy now for the Great Britain man to get his hands free in the tackle and try and smuggle it away and offload it. Press has been penalised. Jourdain looks on helplessly, and the other three Great Britain substitutes preparing to join in the fun. No need for Britain to kick it goal. They can work another move here. Schofield, Jackson, O'Fire, Hanley. Took 3 of them. Andy Dannett. Edwards. They were falling over each other there to take the opportunity and getting in each other's way. Schofield. Dannett. A good pass for a brought forward. Steve Hampson. Hit the gap well again. Daryl Powell just short. O'Fire waiting. Hat-trick. Martin O'Fire gobbles up his 3rd of the afternoon. Great Britain nearing the 50 mark. And Martin O'Fire has scored the first Great Britain hat-trick since November 1985.
The hardest part about that try for Martin O'Fire was pushing the other 8 Great Britain players away from going to dummy half. Such is the state of the French defence.
His first hat-trick for his country, as I say, the first that anybody scored for Great Britain since Gary Schofield ran in 4 against the New Zealanders at Wigan back in 1985. Nice little landmark for O'Fire.
As much as the French team is in disarray at the moment, there's some bad habits creeping into the English play. In the last 5 minutes, we've seen 3 players chip for themselves with no thought to the men outside them, not thinking of what tackle it was or what they were building up to. Again, we saw Ellery Hanley go down the right-hand flank with Paul Eastwood unmarked on his outside, but he chose to go for the line himself. Playing against a French team like this, you can get into a lot of bad habits, and Malcolm really is going to have to send a few messages out there for these men to keep their mind on the job at hand.
Eastwood's lost his range for the moment. And we're going to have to wait for the 50. We're not going to wait for the other 3 substitutes, though. Great Britain have replaced Steve Hampson, Paul Loughlin and Carl Fairbank, all taking well-earned rests. And the other 3 substitutes, St John Ellis of Castleford, Kevin Ellis of Warrington and Keith England of Castleford have come on in their places. 48 points to 0, Great Britain lead. And a test debut for Kevin Ellis, and only 10 minutes behind him, St John Ellis, the man in here in possession. Has another opportunity at this level. French have made a change too, bringing on Marc Tisser, their number 15, for the prop forward Pierre Mongaillard. There's Mongaillard. A little bit shell-shocked, I think. Kevin Ellis' first touch in international football to Gary Schofield, couldn't take the return. Mao really looking on pensively, but deep down there must be an awful lot of satisfaction when he thinks back 10 months to what happened on this ground against the French. Here's David Fraisse. Tackled by Eastwood, Cyril Pons. And again, the ball slipped out. Pons recovered it. 15 minutes remaining. Valero. Maniac unable to hold on that time. Ball went forward. Maniac shows some dissent. Threw the ball down. And what was going to be a scrum becomes a penalty. Some hard, harsh lessons to be learnt now by the French in the remaining 15 minutes. The modern Great Britain are in no mood to show any mercy. Andy Dannett. Sean Edwards, Gary Schofield, going alone. It's about the one place there wasn't a Great Britain supporting player. Sean Edwards, attacking at will now. Kevin Ellis, one of his special passes. Martin O'Fire, matched up with a prop forward, and that never was a match-up. O'Fire's 4th of the afternoon takes Great Britain past the 50 mark. Would you believe, matches the highest score ever recorded by a Great Britain side in Test football. 52 points.
The ineffectiveness of the French defence again leads to their downfall. What we have here is a game of touch and pass for the English. They're throwing the ball around like a hot potato. Everyone's saying, well, if I can't go any further, I'll give it to you. The ball eventually gets to Martin O'Fire, who stands his winger up, and then a terrible sight, a front rower chasing a winger. Oh, dear. And that's his 4th try as he just ambles over the line.
You'd have got him though, wouldn't you?
Well, of course I would, but
if you'd got that close, you'd have got him anyway.
Well, I don't know. I would have needed a motorbike, I think.
Sean Edwards making the initial foray, but what we're seeing now is that every Great Britain player tackled is able to get his arms free, and Kevin Ellis with that long looping pass was able to give O'Fire the space to beat 2 men and snap up his 4th try of the afternoon.
at the conclusion of this game, I'd love to see the statistics sheet and see the missed tackles from the French team here today. Everybody knows that when they've got the ball in their hands, they're capable of splitting the best laid defences and scoring tries. But until they can learn to stop them, they won't be a threat in the international market.
Fortis has missed 3 in a row now, but a wry smile. Martin O'Fire's 4th try of the afternoon. And a little bit of history in the making here, because Great Britain now lead by 52 points to 0, equaling the highest total ever recorded by a British side in Test football. And surely they will improve on it further. And Jack Jorda, who cried tears of happiness on this ground 10 months ago, today it will be tears of despair and a rueful puff on a Gauloise. Hanley, Schofield. Just a measure of the progress that Martin O'Fire is making this afternoon. He's now got 18 tries for his country, and he stands 4th on the all-time scoring list. 4 years in the game. He's caught up Ellery Hanley today. And he's looking for more. And from his point of view, what will be the happiest point of all is that he's now 11 ahead of Greg Austin on the Rugby League try-scoring list for this season. And that means a lot to him to finish in #1 spot 4 years in a row. But it's becoming an afternoon now of statistics and figures as Gary Schofield coaches his 2nd interception try of the afternoon. And that is the highest total that Great Britain have ever recorded in Test football. 56 points, Gary Schofield's hat-trick. His 2nd hat-trick for Great Britain. His 2nd interception try of the day, is umpteenth of his career.
Here we have Jack Molinaire, probably one of the best French on the field, unfortunately trying too hard. He throws it past Schofield again on the spot. He nearly fumbles it, looks ahead, sees no fullback in position, and it's just a straight sprint to the line. Mark O'Fire runs Ramirez off the ball, which gives him a little bit of help, and it's try number... Molinaire trying very hard to marshal his troops here, but Schofield up on the blind side, just seeing the opportunity there again that presented itself in the first half. Sees no one in front of him, the winger can't get near him, Fraser's interfered with, but I don't think he wanted to tackle him anyway.
It's just not fair. A number of tries that he pitches out of the hands of his opponents. Well, Fortis was in a bit of a bad patch now. After going 8 for 8, he's missed 4 in a row. There's no concern on any Great Britain face now.
The back view, look at Schofield. Schofield's sensing that this is going to be, and look at the anticipation of the man. He gets a hand to it, juggles it up in the air. Number 14 says, I can't get to you. And then again, the man has got express pace over 40 metres. No one's going to run him down from there.
Schofield making it 56 points to 0 now to Great Britain. 3 for him, 4 for O'Fire. Molinaire. Chamarat. Good break by Press. Now Great Britain will want to try and keep a clean sheet, but Maniac is trying to spoil it. 5th tackle. Now can the French somehow pilfer some consolation? Well, they pilfered a penalty. Keith England very quickly up. They'll go for the tap. Onta. Molinaire. Onta. Tisser. Now Cyril Pons with an opportunity, and Pons is in. Well, it's not been an easy afternoon to be a French winger, but Cyril Pons, who scored a try here 3 years ago, a try here in victory a year ago, has at least got something for his long trip over from southwest France.
Just watch here for Paul Eastwood's positioning. Eastwood's come in, he's left Pons on the outside, and Eastwood, not known for his pace, has let Pons, a quicker man, get on the outside of him, which is suicide, that close to the line. Here we see from behind. Now just watch the long pass that cuts 3 men out, but watch Eastwood. Eastwood's, he's come in a bit from his wing. There he is, he has to turn and chase Pons. He can't get anywhere near him, and that's fatal for a winger.
Lessons to be learnt even at this stage of a runaway victory. Cyril Pons narrowing the deficit marginally. Tisser unable to improve the try, and Great Britain lead by 56 points to 4. Still got 6 minutes to go. It's amazing to think that after that defeat by France last year, Great Britain's next international was against Papua New Guinea, and they lost that too, albeit amidst a terrifying atmosphere of riots and tear gas. But since those low points, the team's record is 1-5, lost 3, and of those 3 defeats, only one was by more than a solitary try, that 14-0 loss to the Kangaroos in the deciding test over at Ellen Road. But that big win in Perpignan 3 weeks ago, followed now by an even bigger success here at Headingley. And Great Britain set fair for the future. France's future clouded, though, in uncertainty. Tisser. Maniac unable to hang on. Will Great Britain have another launching pad for another scoring move? St. John Ellis. Keith England. Roy Powell. Him here. Big swashbuckling lead, second row forward. Kevin Ellis. Edwards. Oh, they all moved away, and Edwards couldn't quite gather it. He's a real perfectionist, Shaun Edwards. He's disgusted with himself. John Mooney was telling me last week that he just lives and breathes the game, Shaun Edwards. He's always training, he's always talking rugby league. He's completely involved in his profession. Onta. The man of the match, Gary Schofield, the Great Britain standoff half. 3 tries for him today. 3 tries which have taken him into second place on the all-time Great Britain scoring list behind Mick Sullivan. Tisser. 3.5 minutes of misery for the French to endure. Molinaire kicking. St. John Ellis. Real good news story, St. John Ellis. He only came into rugby league at 22 after a flirtation with football. He admits he was a bit of a wild lad in his younger days, and his attitude was bad, and that rugby league was his last chance to make something of himself. And 2 years ago he was playing in the second division, and now he's playing for his country. Kevin Ellis, good to see him involved too, the Warrington Rugby Union convert. Keith England. Fifth tackle. Schofield. Taking off the ball. Referee not playing advantage that time. In fact, Hanley was offside. Gibraltar's never given up today. Schofield's Man of the Match award, very, very popular in these parts. And the amazing thing about the life of the modern rugby league player is that Schofield will go home tonight, have a restful evening in front of the television, and will be turning out against Widnes here tomorrow in a really important championship match. No rest for the talented. Here's David Frères talking of the talented. Interesting, one or two British clubs at the moment. Castleford have been mentioned, and Halifax. It's been very difficult for him to enhance his reputation today. The French number 3 there. They've learned a thing or two about the British game today, which will stand him in good stead. His military service finishes in June, and I'll be very surprised if he's not a part of our domestic game next season. Andy Platt. Lee Jackson breaking clear. They're queuing up to support him. Schofield on fire. He's in there again. Number 5 for Martin Offiah. 60 points up. An amazing afternoon. Takes another amazing turn. And that's another record, breaking Alex Murphy's 4 tries against the French back in 1959. The biggest single scoring feat in a Great Britain-France test match, completed, who else, by Martin Offiah.
Well, a good lesson here to play to the whistle. The French players had stopped, not knowing what the ruling was going to be, but the Great Britain players said, no, there's some life in this game yet. And Martin Offiah, well, come 4:30 tomorrow afternoon, I wonder if he'll be scoring 5 tries against Leeds.
I'd like to save a couple of them up for the championship, that's for sure. It doesn't work like that. Great Britain's 11th of the afternoon. Offiah's 5th. I wonder if they've kept count. Maurice Lindsay on the right-hand side joining Phil Larder and Malcolm Reilly. It's getting better and better for Britain. Another tough one for Paul Eastwood. They're not running them underneath the post rim anymore. He's got 8 goals for a try to his name. It's been a good day for him. It's been a great day for Great Britain. Their biggest ever score in Test history. 5 tries for Martin Offiah amidst the 60 points to 4 victory that they've rattled up. 3 for the man of the match, Gary Schofield. 1 apiece for Paul Eastwood, Sean Edwards and Steve Hampson. The French, who held Great Britain to 16 points at half-time, totally outplayed by a rampant Lions performance in the second half. 60 points to 4, the final score. We'll be back for the verdicts in just a moment.